a United Way partner agency. We are located on the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. Today is December the 2nd, and your ready hosts today are Jacob and
Dr. Shanessa Fenner.
We will be reading the news for today edition of the Fayetteville Observer. Your weather today is 55 degrees, mostly cloudy and cooler. Tonight it will be 44 degrees and mainly cloudy. Sunday's weather broadcast will be 65 degrees in the morning, 43 degrees at night. It should be sunny and pleasant and warmer throughout the day. For next week, Monday's weather should be 63 degrees during the day, 48 degrees at night, and mostly sunny and pleasant. Tuesday's weather should be 74 degrees and 60 degrees at night. Some sun, then clouds are warmer. Wednesday will be slightly rainy with 66 degrees during the day and 33 degrees at night. Thursday's weather should be 53 degrees and it will get quite cold at 29 degrees at night. With Friday, we'll have 53 degrees in the morning and 32 degrees at night with a slight chance of rain.
The Museum of the Cape Fear presents Holiday Jubilee at the 1897 Poe House, Sunday, December 3rd, 1 to 5 p.m. Admission is free. Performances by the Coventry Carolers at 1:30, 2:30, and 3:30. Performances by the Cross Creek Chordsmen at 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. Cooking on the 1902 stove. Special guest, Santa Claus. Today is Saturday, December 2nd, the 336th day of 2017. There are 29 days left in the year. On December 2nd, 1942, an artificially created self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction was demonstrated for the first time at the University of Chicago. In 1804, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of the French. In 1859, militant abolitionist John Brown was hanged for his raid on Harper's Ferry the previous October. Artist Georges Perec-Sirault was born in Paris. In 1939, New York Municipal Airport, LaGuardia Field, later LaGuardia Airport, went into operation as an airliner from Chicago landed at 1 minute past midnight. In 1954, the U.S. Senate passed 67-22 a resolution condemning Senator Joseph McCarthy, saying he had acted contrary to senatorial ethics intended to bring the Senate into dishonor and disrepute. In 1957, the Shippingport Atomic Power Station in Pennsylvania, the first full-scale commercial nuclear facility in the U.S., began operations. In 1970, the newly created Environmental Protection Agency, opened its doors under its first director, William Ruckelshaus. In 1982, in the first operation of its kind, doctors at the University of Utah Medical Center implanted a permanent artificial heart in the chest of retired dentist Dr. Barney Clark, who lived 112 days with the device. In 2015, a couple loyal to Islamic State opened fire at a holiday banquet for public employees in San Bernardino, California, killing 14 people and wounding 21 others before dying in a shootout with police. Birthdays: actress Kathy Lee Crosby is 73, movie director Penelope Spears is 72, broadcast journalist Stone Phillips is 63, actor Dennis Christopher is 62, country singer Joe Henry is 57, actor Brendan Cole is 54, actress Susie Nekamara is 49, Renee Sofer is 49, Lucy Liu is 49, rapper Tretch is 47, International Tennis Hall of Famer Monica Seles is 44, singer Nelly Furtado is 39, pop singer Britney Spears is 36, actress Yvonne Orji is 34, actress Daniela Rua is 34, NFL quarterback Aaron Rodgers is 34, actor Alfred Enoch is 29, and pop singer-songwriter Charlie Puth is 26.
Today's day-breaking news on Need to Know. Number 1, Holiday Craft Blazer. The Spring Lake Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 452 Auxiliary was a holiday craft bazaar today. It lasted from 1 to 6 p.m. and it was in order to raise money for Veterans Program. The event is open to the public and there's no fee to attend. There will be food, raffles, and door prizes. The bazaar is at 1241 Pine Knoll Drive in Spring Lake. For more information, call 497-5751. The church training. The Cumberland County's Sheriff's Office is holding an active shooter preparedness class for heads of church organizations at 6:30 p.m. On Monday, leaders of any faith-based organization within the country are invited to attend. The course lasts approximately 90 minutes and also informs participants of past active shooter situations and how to maintain situational awareness. Church members who aren't able to attend can contact the Sheriff's Office. To schedule an alternate session, the training is free, and there is no formal registration. Seating is limited to 61. Call 223-3323 to receive. Terry Sanford Fundraiser. Terry Sanford High School Band and Chorus Programs has mattress sale fundraiser today from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the school gym. High-quality name-brand mattresses can be ordered directly from the factory and delivered to your home in 2 weeks. Prices begin at $259 for twin sizes. Full, queen, and kings are available. For more information, call 322-8266. We want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 10 days in advance. Email calendar@fayeobserver.com or fax details to 486-3545 for questions. Call 486-3500.
Second arrest made in mall parking lot shooting. A second person has been arrested in a Thanksgiving Day shooting in the Cross Creek Mall parking lot that injured 3 people, Fayetteville police said. Rachelle N. Jones, 33, of the 7900 block of Cliffdale Road, was charged Friday with attempted first-degree murder. The shooting happened at midnight on November 23rd after the mall was closed. Police said several people had arranged to meet in the parking lot after hours. During the physical altercation, police said shots were fired. Jones, Jamel R. McMillan, and Trenton Powell were injured. The injuries were not life-threatening. Jones's bail was set at $40,000. Marquise Powell, 22, of the 4500 block of Westville Road, was charged Wednesday with attempted first-degree murder and discharging a weapon into an occupied vehicle. His bail was set at $100,000.
Public safety. Cumberland County arrest. Nathan Floyd Barefoot, of age 24, of the 7500 block of Burnett Road in Godwin, was charged Friday with assault with a deadly weapon on law enforcement officer and misdemeanor resisting arrest. Bail was set at $15,000. Hunter Michael Wagner, 19, of the 3500 block of Rittentor Drive in Hope Mills, was charged Friday with passenger fleeing the scene of a vehicle accident involving injury. Bail was set at $10,000. Antonio Murphy, age 30, of the 3000 block of Hickory Hill Road, was charged Friday with conspiracy by obtaining property by false pretense. Obtaining property by false pretense and misdemeanor, making a false report to a police station. Bail was set at $1,000. Steve Nicholas Taylor, of age 24, of the 4800 block of Tippett Trail, was charged Friday with robbery with a dangerous weapon. Bail was set at $25,000. Brian Keith Hall, 36, of 4900 block of Cedar Creek Road, was charged Friday with possession of cocaine. Bail was set at $1,000. Wesley Andre Trammell, of age 35, of the 200 block of Colonial Drive, was charged Thursday with possessing stolen property and misdemeanor carrying a concealed weapon. Bail was set at $1,500. Break-in on Bragg Boulevard, 1300 block. Reported at 3:52 a.m. Friday, cards and comic book video games were taken.
Body of man found along I-95 ID'd. An autopsy is being done to determine the cause of death of a Lumberton man whose body was found Friday morning in woods along Interstate 95 south near Eastover, the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office said. The man has been identified as 27-year-old Dakota Douglas Bodiford. The Sheriff's Office was contacted about 8:45 a.m. about a possible body in the woods about a half-mile south of Murphy Road, said Lieutenant Sean Swain, a Sheriff's Office spokesman. There were no visible injuries on Bodiford's body, he said. The body was being taken to the office of the Chief Medical Examiner's office in Raleigh for the autopsy.
In 2016, a man was charged with sexual assault. A Fayetteville man is accused of raping a 15-year-old girl in 2016. According to arrest warrants in the Cumberland County Magistrate's Office, Jacole Tamar McCurry, of age 20, of the 7400 block of Beaver Run Drive, was charged Friday with second-degree forcible rape, statutory rape of a child, 15 or under, second-degree forcible sex offense, and statutory sex offense. The offense happened August 22nd to the 23rd in 2016, warrant said. No other information was given. Bail was set at $200,000.
Burglary report prompts school lockdowns. 2 Harnett County schools were placed on lockdown after Harnett County Sheriff's deputies responded to a report of a burglary about 11:05 a.m. Friday on the 2000 block of Marks Road in Cameron. The home's resident reported that 2 masked men kicked in his front door, according to a news release. One man entered the home armed with a long gun, the release said. The resident shot at the man inside the home. The suspect went outside and shot into the house from the front yard, the release said. Both suspects ran away. Both suspects were described as wearing camouflage coats, with one man wearing shorts and military-style boots, the release said. The victim appears to have been grazed on his leg. EMS responded, but the victim wasn't taken to the hospital. A handgun was recovered in the front yard of the home, and tracking dogs were used, the release said. Although Jonesville and Behaven elementary schools are not close to the home, both were placed on lockdown as a precaution, and a deputy was posted at each school. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to call the Harnett County Sheriff's Office at 910-893-9111.
Suspect charged in 2 motel robberies. A Stedman man accused of robbing a convenience store earlier this week faces additional charges in the robberies of 2 Fayetteville motels near Cedar Creek Road and Interstate 95. Dennis Ray Horn, Jr., of age 42, of the 8400 block of Clinton Road, is charged with 2 counts each of robbery with a dangerous weapon and possession of stolen property. The charges were filed by Fayetteville Police. Horn is accused in the November 25th robbery of the Quality Inn at 1725 Jim Johnson Road and the November 23rd robbery of the Econ Lodge at 1952 Cedar Creek Road. In both robberies, Horn is accused of entering the business, demanding money, and threatening employees with a gun. His demands were not met, a Fayetteville police release said. Horn was arrested Wednesday after a robbery at Strickland's store on the North Carolina 210 South. The Cumberland County Sheriff's Office said in a release. Employees saw Horn run from the store and get into a 2005 Toyota Camry that was waiting in the parking lot. The release said the employees managed to get the license plate number. Investigators used it to find the owner of the vehicle and learned that Horn had been a passenger. Horn's bail was set at $175,000.
82nd Airborne Deputy Commander promoted. A deputy commanding officer of the 82nd Airborne Division was promoted to Brigadier General during a ceremony at Fort Bragg on Friday. General Chris Leneve was promoted to the 1-star rank outside the division headquarters on All-American Way. Leneve has been with the 82nd Airborne since June. He is Deputy Commanding General for Operations. Leneve's wife, Kim, and children, 2nd Lieutenant Caitlin Leneve and Nicholas Leneve, helped the new general officer don his new rank Friday. He has served in the U.S. Army since the 1990s and has previously been assigned to the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, 10th Mountain Division at Fort Durham, New York, and 1st Armored Division at Fort Bliss, Texas. Lenee previously served in the 82nd Airborne Division, commanding 2nd Battalion, 325th Airborne Infantry Regiment, and the 2nd Brigade Combat Team. He also served as J3 for Combined Joint Task Force 82nd in Eastern Afghanistan and as G3 of the 82nd Airborne Division. Before returning, Lenee was Executive Officer to the Commander of the Resolute Support Mission in Afghanistan.
Opinion. The hurricane season is over, but here comes the drought. Merit. For the welcome end of the 2017 hurricane season, which concluded on Thursday, it was a tough one, a season that brought 17 named storms, 10 of them becoming huge hurricanes, and 3 of them, Harvey, Irma, and Maria, were massive and powerful, wreaking havoc across the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, Florida, and Texas. It will be years before all the destruction is cleared and life goes on as usual. The storms killed more than 400 people and left damage totaling nearly $400 billion. This was one of the only 6 hurricane seasons on record that saw more than one Category 5 storm, and it's only the second time in recorded hurricane history that 2 hurricanes of that intensity made landfall. We're grateful that none of those storms hit this area, where we are still recovering from the flooding of last year's Hurricane Matthew, another destructive giant. The hurricane season begins on June 1 every year and runs through November 30. Demerit. For the drought conditions that are spreading across the state. According to the latest report from the Drought Management Advisory Council, 24 counties in the middle of the state are in moderate drought. That includes the western quarter of Cumberland County. A much larger region around the drought, 47 more counties, is rated abnormally dry. For the counties in moderate drought, the council says it's time to begin precautions, including minimizing non-essential water use and adjusting usage to prolong the water supply. About 50 miles up the Cape Fear River Basin, we can see the drought at work with large parts of Jordan Lake bottom exposed like tidal flats at low tide. The lake is a reservoir formed by damming the Haw River, the biggest single tributary of the Cape Fear. No need to worry a lot just yet, and the growing season is over for this year. But if the drought conditions continue through the winter, we could have a big problem come planting time in the spring. Merit. For the federal volunteers who spent last week assembling 200 care packages for deployed military working dogs. Sending packages to deployed soldiers is a long and special tradition here and in many other communities. But many people are only beginning to learn about the enormous contribution military working dogs have made during many of our wars, especially in Afghanistan and Iraq. The dogs have saved countless soldiers' lives by sniffing out improvised explosive devices, helping clear buildings of enemy fighters, and tracking enemy soldiers in dangerous conditions. They're used regularly in military police work and to guard the perimeters of our bases in countries where fighting continues. And as a memorial at the Airborne and Special Operations Museum downtown reminds us, sometimes the dogs give their lives in service to their country and the troop they protect. The boxes were filled with dog treats, chew toys, nail clippers, and other supplies that were donated by local businesses. Volunteers from the nonprofit Military Working Dog Team Support Association packed the boxes, a big 2 paws up salute for the effort. Demerit. For the early flu outbreak in North Carolina that has already taken 5 lives across the state. The deaths were reported by the State Department of Health and Human Services over the last 3 weeks. All of the deceased flu victims were 65 or older. We wouldn't be at all surprised if at least some of those deaths could have been prevented if the victims had gotten a timely flu shot. The vaccinations are generally quite effective and are readily available in doctors' offices and urgent care clinics and at most drugstores. Most health insurance plans cover the entire cost of the shot. There is just no good reason why people shouldn't protect themselves from the flu. If you haven't gotten your flu shot yet, heed the early death tolls and get it done soon. Merit. For the Arts Council of Fayetteville, Cumberland County, which once again hit a home run with the annual A. Dickens Holiday downtown. The Friday night celebrations brought thousands of residents and visitors downtown, where they were greeted by characters in full Victorian costume, many of them sporting proper British accent appropriate to Charles Dickens' era. Even Jacob Marley was there, searching for Ebenezer Scrooge. Everybody is having a great time, Arts Council Executive Director Deborah Martin Mintz reported. All our Dickens characters can barely walk down the street because everybody wants to take their picture with them. It was a grand celebration as the 18th annual festivity concluded with the traditional candlelight walk to the market house, where the holiday street decorations were lighted, followed by a fireworks display. Like many of this city's celebrations, the Dickens holiday just keeps getting better and better.
Letters to the Observer. When will landfill fire end? How long must the Wilkes Road landfill burn before something is done about it? Sometimes the smoke has been so bad I've had to breathe through a cloth over my mouth and nose. It has driven me indoors at my own home, 3.5 miles away. It's now burning for months now, and for the past 2 days it's been at its worst. For people with respiratory health issues, breathing the smoke could have deadly consequences. Of course, it could just as well cause issues among healthy individuals. The county should consider whether the cost of properly extinguishing these fires would outweigh the potential inundation of lawsuits.
Don't let Trump get AIDS program. Don't let Trump gut AIDS program. This is by Michael Gerson. I am not in the ignore President Trump's tweets because they are a distraction from important things. His most recent tweet accusing without evidence a news executive of wrongdoing, hinting that a television host may have been involved in murder, and embracing the debunked anti-Muslim rantings of Britain's alt-right indicates some type of degeneration. The president seems to be in a downward spiral of anger, compulsion, conspiracy thinking, and prejudice that is alternately offensive and frightening. The thing is, Trump's tweets are also distracting from other important matters of governance. And here is one that can't get lost in the general madness. The Trump administration is proposing a reduction in funding and a shift in strategy in the fight against global AIDS that together would increase infections, cost lives, and threaten the extraordinary progress of the last 15 years. A little history. In January of 2003, as a cresting wave of death from AIDS swept across sub-Saharan Africa, George W. Bush proposed the Presidential's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, the largest initiative to fight a single disease in history. I was one advocate for the plan within the Bush administration. The legislation passed rapidly with bipartisan support. The effort, including mass treatment, prevention, and compassionate care, which continued and expanded under President Obama. On this week of World AIDS Day, the results are truly remarkable. The agency supports more than 13 million people on life-saving treatments, thanks to PEPFAR, the global fund to fight AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis, and the increasing contributions of countries themselves. More than half of people in the world needing AIDS treatments are getting it. But there is a predictable challenge ahead. Africa is experiencing a historic youth bulge and will have more than 800 million young people by 2050. How fast and far the AIDS virus spreads among them will determine much about the future of the epidemic. And the extent of that spread will be determined, in addition to direct outreach to young people, by the level of AIDS treatment. This is true for two non-obvious reasons. First, the availability of treatment helps to determine the level of AIDS testing. Significantly, fewer men and women want to be tested for the disease, and is a death sentence. And when people don't know their status, they are more likely to transmit the virus. Second, when people living with AIDS are put on treatment, their viral load is dramatically reduced, making them less infectious to others. Treatment is an essential form of prevention. The sooner you treat someone, the more new infections you prevent. During the Bush and Obama administration, the strategy on AIDS was pretty consistent. Put as many people on treatment as possible, use economies within the program and falling drug prices to increase that number even further. Focus on the places and groups where transmission is highest, but act broadly enough to block transmission routes across the continent. For the first time since early in the American AIDS response, a fundamental change in approach is being debated. In its 2018 budget, the Trump administration proposes an $800 million cut in Americans' bilateral HIV/AIDS program, along with a $225 million cut for the Global Fund. The State Department, in turn, has written a new AIDS strategy to reflect this lower level of funding. Resources would be concentrated on 13 priority countries, while current levels of treatment would be maintained in other places. Neither South Africa nor Nigeria, which together have about a quarter of AIDS cases in the world, would be in the priority category. The results, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, more than 800,000 fewer people compared to the current number would be placed on treatment in the first year of the new strategy, and 2.7 million fewer by 2020. One recent study estimates 26 million additional AIDS infections and 4 million more preventable deaths over the next 15 years. When you are not moving forward against an epidemic, you end up moving backward and rapidly. All of which raises a few questions. Are Republicans in Congress prepared to squander a legacy of GOP leadership that has won American considerable goodwill around the world? Does Donald Trump really want to be known for undermining an effort he praised during his campaign, as well as his recent United Nations General Assembly speech? Among evangelists, what definition of being pro-life does not include saving millions of lives from preventable disease and death? There is only one AIDS strategy adequate to controlling this disease: full funding and full speed ahead.
A Bible makes a great gift for a young person. This is for Billy Graham. I'd like to give my niece a nice Bible for Christmas, but I'm afraid she might be disappointed. She's only 10 and I've usually just given her a gift card and some money. Will I just be wasting my money since she's still young and probably won't understand the Bible? The answer: the Bible is God's Word. Can you think of anything more valuable to give to someone? The psalmist was right. Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path. That's from Psalms chapter 119, verse 105. Every day your niece hears literally hundreds of voices, friends, advertisements, text messages, and so forth, that try to persuade her to think and live in certain ways that may be wrong or even destructive. How will she decide what is true and what is false? How will she decide what is really important in life and what is worthless? Hopefully she'll learn this from several sources, including her parents and her church. But ultimately her life needs to be shaped by the Word of God, and you can help her discover this through your gift of a Bible. Even if she doesn't understand it now, she can as she grows older. Seek out a modern translation she can understand. Your local Christian bookseller or pastor can help you. In addition, consider a Bible that is designed for young people and includes explanatory notes and articles that will help her understand what it means to follow Jesus. Pray regularly for your niece. Young people today face incredible pressures and temptations. If you do decide to give her a Bible this year, let her know why it's important to you. And if you're still uncertain about her reaction, you might also give her another small gift that you know she'll appreciate.
The more toys, the better. Paratroopers seeking foreign jump wings have spread Christmas cheer. Hundreds of paratroopers thriving on energy drinks and adrenaline filled the green ramp early Friday, clutching ticket stubs as an announcer rattled off a 6-digit number. When soldiers heard their numbers called, they sprinted to claim a coveted spot on a flight with the foreign jump master. If no one claimed the spot, the crowd collectively screamed, "Scratch!" a signal to move on to the next ticket. Regardless of who got a spot, children hoping for a cheerful Christmas were the big winners. It's all part of the 20th Randy Oler Memorial Operation Toy Drop, an annual toy drive run by Civic Affairs and Psychological Operations Command. Soldiers who donated a toy were eligible to enter a lottery for a chance to jump with one of 8 countries to earn foreign jump wings, a prestigious decoration. This year, officials from Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Poland, Sweden, Colombia, and Canada will run the airborne operations with American soldiers. About 900 tickets were drawn for about 800 seats on Friday. Airborne operations will continue through next week. By the end of the event, more than 2,200 paratroopers will jump to earn foreign jump wings. Although it was a large crowd, noticeably missing were paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division's 1st Brigade Combat Team who are deployed to Afghanistan. Private First Class Savannah Dunning, a signal intelligence analyst for 3rd Brigade Combat Team, won a spot for a flight with Swedish jump masters. The jump was particularly special for her because of her own Swedish heritage. It was her first time at Toy Drop, but she typically finds a charity to donate toys to for Christmas each year. That's because when she was a child, Dunning said, she benefited from someone else's kindness and enjoys giving back. She picked out a Nerf gun to donate this year. I always wanted a huge Nerf gun, she said, chuckling as she recalled how her older siblings razzed her with their toy guns. I thought that would be the coolest toy to give. Also, securing a spot on a foreign flight was Special First Class Ryan Mitchell, who was pushed into the front of the line by his non-commissioned officer, Sergeant Ezekiel Polite. Mitchell, who has been a paratrooper for 2 years, says he thrives on the rush of jumping out of aircraft with the 82nd Airborne Division. It was his first time participating in Toy Drop. He got in line around 6 p.m. Thursday night. He arrived with a Lego Star Wars set, a toy he said he would have enjoyed. Every kid deserves a toy on Christmas, he said. I hope it puts joy in their life. Brigadier General Darrell Guthrie, Commanding General of Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations Command, presented certificates to the first 10 paratroopers who waited in line. Every one of you were a little kid at some point, he said, scanning the crowd of hundreds of paratroopers. Every one of you brought a toy, and you're going to make a kid's life a little better. Zachary Oler, son of Randy, visited Green Ramp to watch part of the lottery Friday morning. The idea for the event came when his father was sitting in a Humvee with friends in 1998, brainstorming ways to help the community. Taking care of others is just how his father was raised, Zachary Oler said. He remembered during his childhood collecting toys to donate for his father's toy drive. It started as a simple idea, he said. We didn't think it'd go on for the past year. Not only has the event continued, it has steadily grown over the past 20 years. Officials say they expect the total number of toys collected and donated since the inaugural event to near 200,000. Keep it going, Oler says. The more toys, the better.
Democrats aren't always loyal to black voters. What's the sense of being a Democrat if there's no benefit to being one? That's what the North Carolina Democratic Party's African American Caucus is saying after many prominent Democrats, including former Governor Jim Hunt, supported unaffiliated Raleigh Mayor Nancy McFarlane over Democrat Charles Francis. McFarlane is white and Francis is black. North Carolina Democratic Party leaders acknowledged the frustration of the African American community, a significant voting bloc among Democrats. They say Democrats are committed to electing Democratic candidates statewide, citing Vilau's historic win as the first African American woman elected as mayor of Charlotte, and Mitch Colvin's defeat of incumbent Nat Robertson, a Republican, for mayor of Fayetteville, as examples. Democrats just don't get it. If they think the Democratic Party conflict is isolated to Wake County, they are wrong. Many black Democrats statewide feel perturbed, and they should. Jim Hunt has iconic status among black Democrats, and he should accept responsibility for repairing relationships with Democratic black voters. Presently, the Republican Party is very unpopular among African Americans. Trust me, I know. I'm a registered Republican. At a time when black folks are downright hostile toward the GOP, white Democrats can't capitalize on it because they have a lot of uniting to do within their party as well. Here's the deal. African Americans admit they're admonished to toe the line and only offer allegiance and support to other Democrats, while their white counterparts support Republicans and unaffiliated candidates whenever they choose. The unfair gamesmanship and betrayal is nothing new. So-called conservative white Democrats routinely switch political parties, becoming Republicans when it's convenient for their interests. I remember having lunch one day with a colleague at the Backyard Burger restaurant on Hay Street in the early 2000s. An elderly white woman who appeared to be in her late 70s or early 80s at the table near us struck up a political conversation and she started laughing as she spoke. She referenced a white Democrat elected official who she said was her next door neighbor. She said, "I bet you think he's a good Democrat, don't you?" I started laughing too, responding, "I guess." She then said, "Well, I've been his neighbor for over 40 years and he isn't a Democrat. He's a closet Republican and he's just trying to get black people's vote." Was all this true? I have no way of knowing, but it's certainly believable. On another occasion on WIDU radio in the early 1990s, I was interviewing an elected official who had switched from Republican to Democrat. I asked him why he switched and he said, "Because I needed the black vote." Ooh. Surprised by his honesty, my follow-up question was, "Well, what did you change regarding your political philosophy?" He answered, "Nothing." He knew he was talking to a black audience and it didn't matter because no matter what he said or did, he would have the allegiance of black Democratic voters so long as he was registered in their party of choice. Please don't think me rude or mean for sharing my experiences, but it's hard not to see that Democrats skillfully keep blacks in their place. I'm not stuck on stupid. Indeed, there's some idiot knucklehead racist Republicans, but anyone who believes racists only inhabit one political party is really drinking the Kool-Aid. Earlier this year, African American women, including female activists, community leaders, and elected officials, the Democrats' most loyal voting bloc, put the Democratic National Committee on full blast. In an open letter to DNC Chair Tom Perez, they noted that black women voters are the very foundation of a winning coalition. Yet the party does not reciprocate in a meaningful way. Without a doubt, black women have proven to be a robust voting demographic. In 2008 and 2012, 70% of eligible black women cast ballots, the highest of any racial or gender group. Black women are perplexed why the DNC is apparently trying to reach out to deplorables, Hillary Clinton's terminology, instead of increasing participation from its core voters, people of color and women. Cumberland County's 2018 local elections are already beginning to take shape with rumors of a challenge for the district attorney's office. If the challenger is an African American, it should prove to be a very interesting primary. The sheriff's office, the clerk of court, the register of deeds, 2 Cumberland County Commissioner District 1 seats, and 2 at-large seats are up for grabs. With African Americans already holding principal offices, black voter participation should be significant, suggesting the possibility of success in political positions never previously held by African Americans. It's all about the numbers, and if Cumberland County black Democrats can organize their base, the political landscape of our community is likely to be changed permanently.
Salvation Army reopens homeless shelter. The Salvation Army in Fayetteville is reopening its homeless shelter, now renamed The Haven, more than a year after it was severely damaged by Hurricane Matthew. The renovated building at 245 Alexander Street is now focused on providing temporary housing to single women and families. Previously, it had taken in men. The single men will be directed to Operations Inasmuch, another charitable organization that offers shelter and services to help people get on their feet. The Salvation Army shelter will start taking in residents again Monday, said Salvation Army Captain Matthew Trantham. More than 100 people attended a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Haven on Friday. We're opening at such a crucial point when it's about to get really cold, and there's a lot of families who are desperate for a night of warm place to stay, and a lot of single women struggling as well. When the storm struck in October 2016, Trantham said he felt overwhelmed and the residents were fearful. There was 7 inches of water inside and the roof was damaged. We need to completely gut the floor We needed to completely gut the floor. We had to do a lot of renovations in light of the walls, the ceilings, the bathrooms, the dining hall, and equipment. All of the contents were ruined and were exposed to hazardous floodwaters. The repairs and upgrades cost more than $300,000, Trantham said. Insurance covered a lot of it, and then we've dipped into some of our capital reserves to take care of some of the other items that weren't flood-related. The other items include upgrades to the windows, the security system, and the fire control system. Today, the inside is bright and shiny with its new floors, paint, furniture, and other fixtures. A day room has child-sized chairs along with adult-sized chairs. The thing that I love about this building now is that it is reaching the potential that I think we have had for 4 years. The building needed a lot of work before the storm, and while the storm has kept it out of operations for over a year, we've been able to come back and make a lot of things right that needed to be right.
Flynn pleads guilty to lying. Michael Flynn, the retired general who campaigned at Donald Trump's side and then served as his first national security advisor, pleaded guilty Friday to lying to the FBI about reaching out to the Russians on Trump's behalf, and said members of the president's inner circle were intimately involved with and at times directing his contacts. Flynn's plea to a single felony count of false statements made him the first official of the Trump White House to admit guilt so far in a wide-ranging criminal investigation by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. It also establishes Flynn as a key cooperator and likely witness in the federal investigation into whether Russia and associates of the president collaborated to influence the 2016 presidential election in Trump's favor. Friday's developments don't resolve that paramount question, but they do show that Flynn lied to the FBI about multiple conversations last December with the Russian ambassador to the United States. Court papers made clear that Flynn knows the identities of members of Trump's transition team who are fully aware of his outreach to Russian officials in the weeks before the inauguration. Mueller's prosecutors indicated the officials were senior and within Trump's inner circle. That revelation moves the Russia investigation, which has shadowed Trump throughout the year, deeper into the White House and raises questions about the accuracy of repeated assertions by the administration that Flynn had misled Vice President Mike Pence and other officials about the content of his calls with the ambassador. Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, had led a transition team effort to defeat the United Nations vote referenced in the court papers, according to former U.S. officials and foreign diplomats. Though prosecutors also had investigated Flynn lobbying work on behalf of the Turkish government, the fact that he pleaded guilty to just one count and faces a guideline range of 0 to 6 months in prison suggests that prosecutors see him as a valuable tool in their investigation and are granting a degree of leniency in exchange for cooperation. White House lawyer Ty Cobb sought to distance the plea from Trump himself, saying, "Nothing about the guilty plea of the charge implicates anyone other than Mr. Flynn." Flynn, the longtime soldier, stood quietly during his plea hearing except to answer brief questions from the judge. He accepted responsibility for his actions in a written statement, though he said he had also been subjected to false accusations. He said, "My guilty plea and agreement to cooperate with the special counsel's office reflect the decision I made in the best interest of my family and of our country." The Russia investigation has persistently followed Trump the first year of his presidency, angering the president and repeatedly distracting from his agenda. Flynn's plea came as Republican senators labored to pass a far-reaching tax bill, which would be a significant victory for Trump. On Friday, the president ignored reporters' shouted questions as he welcomed the Libyan prime minister to the White House and aides canceled media access to a later meeting between the two. He did appear briefly at an afternoon White House holiday reception for the media where he offered season's greetings and departed without addressing the Mueller investigation. Early on in his administration, Trump had taken a particular interest in the status of the Flynn investigation. Former FBI Director James Comey, whose firing in May precipitated the appointment of Mueller as special counsel, has said Trump asked him in a private Oval Office meeting to consider ending the investigation into Flynn. Comey has said he found the encounter so shocking that he prepared an internal memo about it. A former Defense Intelligence Agency chief, Flynn was a vocal Trump surrogate during the campaign that was known for leading crowds in lock her up chants regarding Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. Flynn was interviewed by the FBI days after Trump's inauguration. He was forced to resign following news reports indicating that the Trump White House had been warned by the Obama administration officials that he had discussed sanctions with Kislyak and was therefore compromised and potentially vulnerable to blackmail. White House officials, including Pence, who had declared publicly that Flynn never discussed sanctions, said they had been misled. The court case Friday concerns a series of conversations that Flynn had with Kislyak during the transition period between the November election and the January 20th inauguration. Prosecutors say Flynn on December 29th spoke with an unnamed senior transition team official about what, if anything, to say about sanctions that had been imposed on Russia one day earlier by the Obama administration in retaliation for election interference. Flynn then requested the Russian ambassador not escalate the situation and respond in a reciprocal manner, a conversation that prosecutors say he then reported to transition team members. If the Trump transition made secret backdoor assurances to Russian diplomats, that could potentially run afoul of the Logan Act, a 1799 law that bars private American citizens from attempting to intervene in disputes or controversies between the United States and foreign powers without government approval.
GOP nears Senate okay of tax bill. Washington. Republicans used a burst of 11th hour horse trading Friday to edge a $1.4 trillion tax bill to the brink of Senate passage, as a party starved all year for a major legislative triumph took a giant step toward giving President Donald Trump one of his top priorities for Christmas. We have the votes, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican Kentucky, declared after leaders swayed holdout senators by agreeing to fatten tax breaks for millions of businesses and let people deduct local property taxes. Party leaders hope for Senate approval later Friday on a measure that focuses the bulk of its tax reductions on businesses and higher earning individuals, gives more modest breaks to others, and would be the boldest rewrite of the nation's tax system since 1986. Debate stretched into the evening as lawmakers waited for Republicans to unveil the final version of their measure. Republicans touted the package on one that would benefit people of all incomes and ignite the economy. Even an official projection of a $1 trillion 10-year flood of deeper budget deficits couldn't dissuade nearly all GOP senators from rallying behind the bill. Obviously, I'm kind of a dinosaur on the fiscal issue, says Senator Bob Corker, Republican Tennessee, the only announced GOP opponent who battled to keep the measure from worsening the government's accumulated $20 trillion in IOUs. The Republican-led House approved a similar bill last month in what has been a stunningly swift trip through Congress for legislation that impacts the breadth of American society, and it's hundreds of pages long. After spending the year's first 9 months trying to repeal President Barack Obama's health care law, GOP leaders were determined to move the measure rapidly before opposition Democrats and lobbying groups could blow it up. The party views passage as crucial to retaining its House and Senate majorities in next year's elections. Democrats derided the bill as a GOP gift to its wealthy and business backers at the expense of lower-earning people. They contrasted the bill's permanent reduction in corporate income tax rates from 35% to 20% to individual tax breaks that would end in 2026. Every time the choice is between corporations and families, the Republicans choose corporations, said Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat, New York. The Democrats took to the Senate floor and social media to mock what they said was a 479-page amended version of the bill that included changes in barely legible handwriting. They also criticized Senator Patrick Toomey, Republican, Pennsylvania, for a proposed amendment that said would give a tax break to only conservative Hillsdale College in Michigan. Toomey, one of the chamber's more conservative members, acknowledged the language would help Hillsdale, but said other schools might benefit too. The bill hit rough waters Thursday after the Joint Taxation Panel concluded it would worsen federal shortfalls by $1 trillion over a decade, even when factoring in economic growth that lower taxes would stimulate. But after bargaining that stretched into Friday morning, McConnell and other leaders said victory was assured in a chamber they controlled 52 to 48. Facing unyielding Democratic opposition, Republicans could lose no more than 2 GOP senators and prevail with a tie-breaking vote from Vice President Mike Pence.
Horoscopes. Sagittarius. An entanglement of some sort may be unavoidable today. What you do as a result will be entirely your decision, however. Capricorn. A minor slowdown is nothing to worry about today, only when you feel that you're unable to pick up speed again, should you worry. Aquarius. There are things you do not understand, and today is not the time to fight against them. Rather, work harder to come to terms with them. Pisces. You may be expecting a calamity to ensue today, but in fact you're in for a surprise, for what happens is likely to be quite positive. Aries, you are racing against the clock and you have little time to make adjustments along the way. You must trust in experience and instinct. Taurus, you'll be introduced to something that you hope will become a part of your regular cultural diet, whereas it's been all your life. Gemini, your ability to get along with others shines today and you're able to smooth over a few difficult situations that might otherwise flare. Cancer, you may be ready for a crash course in something that you've always wanted to learn but were afraid might be too much for you. Leo, a difficult situation arises today when you choose to do the very thing that a good friend advises you not to do. What has gotten into you? Virgo, a surprise encounter has you wishing that things were the way they used to be. But you know that's not only impossible, but ill-advised. Libra, you can trust your impulses to steer you in the right direction today, but you mustn't turn off your brain entirely. Some decisions must be made. And Scorpio, you're ready to give it a go today, even though someone close to you has his or her doubts. Nothing you do today is entirely irreversible.
We will go ahead and get to the obituaries. It's not quite 11, but Cape Fear region. Edwin R. Ed Lutz, 74, of Rayford, formerly of York, Pennsylvania. Crumpler Funeral Home, Rayford. Harvey McRae, 81, of Richmond, Virginia, formerly of Rayford, Bowie Funeral Home. Cumberland County, retired Sergeant Major Gary M. Betterton of Fayetteville, North Carolina, passed away Sunday, November 26, at his home. A celebration of life service will be held at 4 p.m. Sunday, December 3rd, at Freedom Biker Church in Fayetteville. Pastor J.D. Toole will be officiating, and Gary will receive full military honors. In lieu of flowers, memorials may be made to the causes that were important to Gary. The SFA Chapter 118, Fisher House Foundation, and to the Freedom Biker Church. Services entrusted to Rogers and Brees Funeral Home. McPhail, James Douglas McPhail Jr., 60, of Durham, died Wednesday, November 29, 2017. Graveside, Sunday, 2 p.m., Old Bluff Presbyterian Church Cemetery. Burial, Old Bluff Presbyterian Church Cemetery. Sullivan's Highland Funeral Service and Crematory. Margie Hicks White of Fayetteville, NC, completed her earthly journey and exited to heaven on November 30th to everlasting life with her Lord and Holy God, where she will again be the rambunctious little girl from the Kentucky hills, romping with her friends and tending to her flowers and pets. The family will receive friends on Sunday, December 3rd, from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Jernigan Warren Funeral Home, with the funeral service followed at 3 p.m. in the Funeral Home Chapel. Burial will follow in Lafayette Memorial Park on Ramsey Street. In lieu of flowers, the family is requesting gifts to the Alzheimer's Therapy Development Institute of Cambridge, Massachusetts. And you can go to www.als.net, honoring her son Stephen's fight with Lou Gehrig's disease. Frances Lorene Rose, 98 of Fayetteville, passed away on Tuesday, November 28, in North Carolina State Veterans Nursing Home. Funeral services will be Monday, December 4th at 11 a.m. in St. Patrick Catholic Church with Father Gregory Lauchi officiating. Burial will follow in Lafayette Memorial Park on Ramsey Street. The family will receive friends in the church parlor 1 hour prior to service. In lieu of flowers, memorials may be made to the Stanton House, 1617 Roxy Avenue, Fayetteville. Arrangements by Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Mary Ann Monroe, 73 of Fayetteville, died Monday, November 27. Funeral Sunday, 1:30 p.m. Wiseman Mortual Chapel. Burial Northside Cemetery, Wiseman Mortuary. Region and elsewhere. E-Town. James Parnell Johnson, 77 of E-Town, died Friday, December 1. Memorial Sunday, 4 p.m. Wesley's Chapel, United Methodist Church. Visitation, multi-purpose building following services, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Bladen Gaskins Funeral Home. Laurel Hill. Flora Oxendine Clark was born February 16, 1918, and departed this life on November 30th at the age of 99 at Open Arms Nursing Home in Rayford, North Carolina. Visitation for family and friends will be 2 p.m. on December 3rd, with the memorial service to follow at 3 p.m. at Richard Bowles' funeral service. Interment will be at Oak Grove Cemetery in Laurinburg, immediately following the memorial service. Lumberton. Johnny Carroll Hester, 69 of Lumberton, died Thursday, November 30th. Funeral Sunday, 3 p.m., West Lumberton Baptist Church. Visitation at the church prior to the service, Sunday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Burial, Meadowbrook Cemetery in Lumberton. Floyd Mortuary. Lumberton. Robert Henry Paul, 76 of Lumberton, died Thursday, November 30. Funeral Monday, 2 p.m., Floyd Memorial Chapel, Lumberton. Visitation prior to the service, Monday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Burial, Gardens of Faith Cemetery, Lumberton. Floyd Mortuary. Fairmont. Lib Harden, 69 of Fairmont, died Thursday, November 30. Funeral Saturday, 6 p.m., Bethesda United Methodist Church, Orem. Visitation at the church prior to the service. Saturdays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., Floyd Mortuary. Dublin. Virginia Burney, 83 of Dublin, died Thursday, November 30th. Funeral Sunday, 3 p.m., Allen Cemetery. Burial, Allen Cemetery. Lewis Bowen Funeral Home.
Okay. Dear Abby, I'm 22. Ever since I was 8, I've had the best friend I could ever ask for. Kylie stood up for me when I was bullied as a child and hung out with me when I had no other friends. The problem is, Kylie is extremely pretty and has always been charismatic too. It's not her fault, but people have always been attracted to her both as a bright personality and as a romantic interest. All through high school, I fell into the role of sidekick. When I became romantically interested in someone, 9 times out of 10, he liked her. When we were together, people would pop in and speak only to her. It made me feel somewhere between shy and invisible. We are now adults, and Kylie is married with 4 kids. We're still very close. The thing is, breaking out of her shadow has become impossible. I went to a different college, and my job has nothing to do with her, but old habits still hold me back from making friends, and romantic interests still magically disappear when I introduce them to my best friend. What do I do? Signed, Second Best. Dear Second Best, you're right. Old habits, not to mention attitudes, do die hard. Because this pattern has been going on for so long, it may take the help of a licensed mental health professional to help you gain the tools to change it. It's crucial that you realize what fine qualities you have to offer. Looks are an asset, but they're only skin deep. If a man you're interested in is distracted to the point of disappearing by someone else's good looks, recognize that he's interested only in the veneer of a relationship, not the hardwood. Until you get this straight in your head, it might be wise to distance yourself from Kylie.
Merry and bright. We've asked you to share your Christmas trees with us, and we're impressed. Of course, you cannot see these trees, but they shared the trees. Check out some of the photos we've reached so far, and see some online at You can see the trees online at fayeobserver.com/photos. We love to see your Christmas tree photos, whether yours is a traditional or quirky. We know that many of you put a lot of effort into the perfect decorations. We'll be publishing reader-submitted photos on Saturday Extra through December. Send your photos or your tree to webmanager@fayeobserver.com, subject line Christmas tree, or you can direct message us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/fayeobserver. Include your name and what city or town you're from, and anything you want to share with our readers about your Christmas tree theme.
Santa joins Christmas tree lighting in Wade. Old St. Nick will be on hand today for the 6th annual Town of Wade Christmas tree lighting at Wade Community Park at 4060 Church Street. The Fayetteville Symphony Orchestra is partnering with the Fayetteville Academy Chorus for a presentation of a Carolina holiday, which is scheduled for 7:30 p.m. today at Huff Concert Hall on the Methodist University campus. Tickets are $28 for adults, $25 for seniors and military, $11 for students with proper identification, and children ages 6 to 18. Children ages 5 and younger are admitted at no charge. Visit FayettevilleSymphony.org or call 433-4690. This is an exciting time of year as we kick off the Christmas season with trees that are lovingly decorated by local artisans and are sponsored by our community businesses and individuals who support the exceptional care that Southeastern Hospice brings to this region. Ann McLean, Festival Coordinator, says about Southeastern Hospice's 32nd Festival of Trees themed Collected Memories, which begins at 1 p.m. Sunday in the Osterneck Auditorium at 102 North Chestnut Street, Lumberton. Hours are 1 to 5 p.m. Sunday and 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Monday and Tuesday. The holiday benefit for Southeastern Hospice, Southeastern Health's not-for-profit program of care for terminally ill patients and their families, a news release says, features crafts, gift items, baked goods, holiday ornaments, and wreaths. A memorial tree will be part of the festival, noting Southeastern Hospice patients who have passed away in the past year. Admission is $3 for adults, $2 for seniors, and children over the age of 12. Southeastern Health employees with an identification badge, children under 12, and members of Southeastern Health's Privileges Plus with the membership card will be admitted at no charge. All proceeds benefit Southeastern Hospice House, and Camp Care, a summer camp for children age 8 to 16 who have lost a loved one. For more information, call 910-671-5007. Christmas in the Park, featuring the sights and sounds of the holidays, kids, crafts, marshmallow roast, a Christmas Express train, and photos with Santa, is scheduled from 6 to 9 p.m. Thursday through December 21st at Arnett Park. There'll be holiday movies presented on an outdoor movie screen. No animals, service dogs only. Admission is $10 per family vehicle, $30 per commercial vehicle, and $75 per motor coach bus. For more information, call 433-1547. For inclement weather, call 306-7325. Don't forget the Sandhills Family Heritage Bake Sale and Holiday Affair, which is scheduled from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. December 9th at 230 Chapel Hill Road in Spring Lake. There'll be holiday crafts and baked goods for sale. The event is sponsored by the Sandhill Family Heritage Association, a nonprofit. For more information, call 568-5809. We are the Infidels Motorcycle Club, a veterans-formed and based motorcycle club for patriotic Americans and our supporting allies. Michael Nick says in an email, we're hosting an event to support Fayetteville Urban Ministry with the help of Fort Bragg Harley-Davidson. Our organization will be giving away 125 bicycles to children identified by Fayetteville Urban Ministry. Together we hope to bring awareness, kindness, and generosity to the community. Through these programs and collaborations between members of nonprofit organizations and local motorcycle clubs and enthusiasts, perhaps a little holiday spirit would touch a needing child and help out with our neighbors during the Christmas season. The bike benevolence is scheduled from noon to 3 p.m. December night at Fort Bragg Harley-Davidson.
Bragg families receive Christmas trees. Taylor Sanchez and her husband, Private First Class Christopher Sanchez, have only recently moved to Fort Bragg. But while the couple are still unpacking boxes, Taylor Sanchez said their house took one big step towards becoming a home after she picked up a Christmas tree at the Smith Lake Recreation Area early Friday. "This is my first Christmas away," the California native said. "The tree is very important. It's a tradition for all of us. I have always had a tree, and it's never fake." The Sanchez family was among hundreds to receive free trees through the Trees for Troops program, a cooperative effort between the nonprofit Christmas Spirit Foundation and FedEx. Volunteers from FedEx were joined by soldiers from across Fort Bragg just after 5 a.m. Friday to prepare for the giveaway. Thomas Putnam, Director of Operations for FedEx Freight in Charlotte, said FedEx would deliver upward of 17,000 trees to 65 military installations this year. "We're looking at roughly 700 trees from about 24 farms for Fort Bragg," he said. The Fort Bragg trees came from as close as western North Carolina and as far away as New York and Maine. Most were donated by Christmas Tree Farms, with school children in those communities drawing holiday messages for each. For more than 13 years, Trees for Troops has provided nearly 200,000 trees for service members and their families. FedEx drivers have logged more than 650,000 miles in support of that effort, which typically concludes with the company's busiest season. The first Fort Bragg families were already lined up near Smith Lake at 7 a.m. starting at 8 a.m. Officials distributed the first 400 trees to soldiers who received vouchers earlier in the week. Soldiers with Fort Bragg's Better Opportunities for Single Soldiers program volunteered their time to help distribute the trees.
Artists get creative for World AIDS Day. The squares are small, just 4 by 5 inches, but the Cumberland County Department of Public Health is hoping they send a big message about HIV/AIDS awareness and prevention. Friday in the lobby of the department on Ramsey Street, people were invited to paint the squares with messages designed to spread the word about the health issue. The Art Canvas project, held in conjunction with the State Department of Health and Human Services, was offered as a part of World AIDS Day. The completed canvas will be sent to Raleigh and displayed at various locations throughout the state, said Malkia Rayner, nursing supervisor in the department's communicable disease STD clinic. "It's to get awareness out and to end AIDS," Rayner said, "just to kind of get people engaged. The problem of HIV and AIDS is a serious one in Cumberland County. In 2016, Cumberland ranked 4th among 100 counties in the incidence of newly diagnosed HIV cases as a percentage of population. It had 63 cases last year, according to State Department of Health and Human Services statistics. Cumberland County ranked 6th in AIDS cases statewide, with 33 cases diagnosed in 2016, according to DHHS statistics. Friday, people tried to help in a small way to lower those numbers. Both department staff and patients were invited to weigh in. It's like your own personal canvassing your thoughts, Rayner said. You can be as creative and imaginative as you want to be. Paint supplies were provided. The department also posted some questions designed to get people thinking about the HIV/AIDS problems. What can I do to help people deal with HIV? How can stigmas be eliminated? What can I do to stop new infections? The artists responded with sayings and pictures they hoped would help illustrate the issue. "Say no," one artist wrote, along with the painting of a needle. "Get tested," another one wrote, and one person simply wrote the word love. Marissa Sadler, teen and young adult health education advocate at the department, painted a red ribbon along with the hashtag Let's End It. Just to get the word out, Sadler said, just to try to end the stigma and discrimination surrounding it. Tamara Morris, also a teen and young adult education advocate, did a depiction of a brain with words such as communication, testing, education, and research coming out of it. That can be very powerful if people realize that we have to tie all those things together, Morris said. Anyone who wants to get tested for sexually transmitted diseases can call the department at 433-3600 or just walk in the help clinic at 1235 Ramsey Street.
A morning walk long ago remembered, Bill Kirby. Imagine if you will, two women on their morning walk along Winterlochen Road long ago, both with a vision for a better community. Still, Mary Lynn McCree Bryan can recall those days in her mind's eyes. Lucille and I walked in the mornings and we talked about things in this community. Bryan, 80, says about her friend Lucille West Hutoff and things that could happen if we just tried. Lucille, diagnosed with lung cancer, was dying. She said, "I'm not going to make it." Bryan says, who had established and underwritten what today is the Cumberland Community Foundation with a $576,000 unrestricted gift in 1980. She was my first real friend here. She knew Bryan had knowledge and expertise in overseeing a similar foundation in Chicago, and she would ask Bryan to promise her to see the foundation would continue in this community for the betterment of mankind. She says, "I want you to do this for me and for this community," Bryan says. The next day, she died. Lucille Hutoff died July 1, 1987. She was 75. Today, the Cumberland Community Foundation has assets of $80 million and has touched lives by the thousands, including 518 current endowments, according to Mary Holmes, the foundation's executive director. Where would the arts be in our community without the Cape Fear Botanical Garden, the Cape Fear Regional Theater, the Fayetteville Symphony, the Arts Council of Fayetteville, Cumberland County? Libby Daniel, the foundation president, said, as she hosted the foundation's annual holiday social to honor the many who give for a community's better tomorrow. How would we protect children without the Child Advocacy Center, the Partnership for Children, or Youth in Need without the Boys and Girls Club, Communities in Schools, Fayetteville Urban Ministry, Find a Friend, Communities United for Youth Development, St. Anne Youth Center, and Youth for Christ? How could we improve health in our community without better health and the care clinic? Imagine education in our community without Fayetteville Technical College, Fayetteville State University, and Methodist College, or without our award-winning library system. Who would teach us about our past so we can improve our future without the NC Civil War History Center? And who would preserve our historic buildings without the Heritage Square Historical Society? Don't forget, Daniel would remind the Vision Resource Center or the Friendship House and Service Source or the Cumberland County Council on Older Adults and the Highlands chapter of the American Red Cross, Operation Inasmuch, Second Harvest Food Banks, and the Salvation Army. How would we fund all this work without the United Way, the Junior League, the McLean Foundation, local foundations, Daniel would say, and of course our growing community foundations? On behalf of the Cumberland Community Foundation, we want to thank all of you, nonprofits, volunteers, and donors, for making life better in this community. And this would be a day when the foundation would give grateful applause to past board members, from Jesse Bird to the late Al Cleveland and to Mary Lynn Bryan. Al Cleveland told me, watch this person. NC Representative Billy Richardson of Cumberland County would say. He said, watch what she does. She's special. Watch her. And Al Cleveland was so right. Richardson would look toward Norwood Bryan. Without question, your greatest gift you gave us was to bring this lady to this community, he would say. And we are so much richer for it. I've often heard we give too many of these, but I would say there's not a single person who ever would dispute this award for this distinguished woman. Richardson would present Mary Lynn Bryan with the Order of the Longleaf Pine from Governor Roy Cooper for her 24 years serving with the Cumberland Community Foundation, and twice as its president, as well as her long service with the Methodist University Board of Trustees and many of organizations that would stretch along Interstate 95, north and south. I told Norwood we would get married, but I was coming to a community I didn't know, or a community that would not know me, Mary Lynn Bryan would say. What I knew, I brought a lot of experience and interest. Her background includes studies of Jane Addams, the Nobel Prize the Nobel Peace Prize humanitarian who died in 1935. Bryan would become curator of the Jane Addams Hull House in Chicago from 1966 to 1973, and later editor of the Jane Addams Papers from 1983 to 2013 as a history professor at Duke University. Jane Addams was an American heroine, she would say. I never met her, I never knew her or saw her, but she thought helping others was important and moving the world forward. I think that way too. Thank you for letting me share my life with you, and I am grateful to be a part of you.
Sunday fast routes are here. We at Behind the Wheel were happy to welcome the new Fast Transit Center downtown. It is a wonderfully designed hub for city buses and megabus, and will eventually be the hub for it says hub for Greyhound too. The official ribbon cutting for the transit center was held on Thursday. Actual service started earlier on November 20th, but regular bus riders on the Fayetteville area system of transit had another reason to be excited last Sunday. That's when Fast started Sunday service, a standing request of riders for some time. A city spokesman said service went as planned. Fast has a limited number of Sunday routes, but it's a good start. Also, the Fast Track ADA service for those with disabilities is part of the Sunday lineup. Now those routes: Route 3, Cedar Creek Road downtown; Route 5, Ramsey Street downtown; Route 6, University Estates, Bragg Boulevard, Cross Creek Mall; Route 7, Savoy Heights, Rayford Road; Route 8, Southern Avenue, Orange Drive, Cape Fear Medical Center; Route 12, Murchison Road downtown; Route 14, Fort Bragg Road, Utah, Sycamore Dairy, Cross Creek Mall; Route 15, Cape Fear Medical Center, Hope Mills Road, Glensford Drive, Cross Creek Mall; Route 17, Gillis Hill Shopping, Cliffdale Road, Cross Creek Mall; Route 18, Skybo Road, Bunts Road, Cliffdale Road, Hollywood Heights. After major holidays, public safety officials usually release figures that remind us the riskiest thing most of us do every day is get behind the wheel of a car. Even in the best of years, some drivers lose their lives. Statewide, there were 16 fatal collisions over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, reports the State Highway Patrol in a news release this week. The holidays are also a reminder that many drivers don't do what they can to minimize driving risks for themselves and othrs. There were 10,518 speeding violations and 2,547 seatbelt violations. There were 24,614 citations overall. Law officers made 445 arrests for driving while impaired. But there was good news too. First, the obvious: of the record 2.1 million people, a record number, who were expected to travel in the Carolinas for Thanksgiving, the overwhelming majority made it back home safely. Second, the Highway Patrol had good numbers to report from its part on an event called the 2017 I-40 Challenge. For the challenge, 8 states put heavy focus on reducing accidents and fatalities on Interstate 40, a major east-west corridor. The release states this initiative placed troopers every 20 miles along the major interstate during the most heavily traveled periods throughout the holiday. The operation was held from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Wednesday, November 22nd, and from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday, November 26th. The campaign focused on a reduction of fatal collisions along the I-40 corridor. For the North Carolina leg of the challenge, 0 fatalities were reported. There were a total of 1,163 citations. The effort coincides with the Highway Patrol's Vision Zero campaign, which seeks to reduce to 0 deaths or injuries from road accidents. That initiative is ongoing and may it one day succeed.
Colvin to raise money for event costs. Mayor-elect Mitch Colvin announced Friday that he will raise money from private citizens to defray the cost of the swearing-in ceremony. The event is scheduled for 6 p.m. Monday at Fayetteville State's J.W. Seabrook Auditorium. The cost of the ceremony, $7,370, has drawn scrutiny from the public and some members of the City Council. I am a little reticent, Councilman Jim Arp told Colvin during a recent meeting, on spending taxpayer money on celebrations like this. Colvin also said in a news release that an inauguration committee will be formed to coordinate future celebrations supported by private donations. The people of Fayetteville deserve the opportunity to celebrate our democracy without having this celebration become a political distraction when the city is facing other big issues. Colvin said in a statement released by the city, "By using private donations and forming this inauguration committee, we establish a process by which future generations will celebrate the transition of their city government in a responsible and positive way. If Colvin raises more money than is needed to defray expenses for the reception, the extra funds will be donated to the Bill Shaw Salvation Army Christmas Fund to assist needy families during the Christmas holiday season." The release did not give details on how to contribute to the fundraising effort. The mayor-elect will be raising money, releasing more details on the inauguration committee in the coming weeks, the release said.
Cone Denim to hold jobs fair ahead of layoffs. Cone Denim will hold a job fair for about 200 employees who will lose their jobs when a plant closes at the end of the year. The Greensboro News and Record reports that the Cone Denim spokeswoman Dolores Sides said at least 11 textile and other manufacturers will attend Wednesday's job fair for the employees of the White Oak plant. Sides says more than 20 companies have expressed interest. Confirmed attendees include Gildine Yarn and Ralph Lauren. Sides say the company has supported educational seminars and workshops for job search assistance and resume preparation. The International Textile Group announced the 112-year-old plant's closure in October. Greensboro-based Wrangler will sell jeans made from one of the last runs of fabric milled at a pop-up store opening Friday.
Sports betting ought to be legal. American's Democracy comic opera frequently features collaboration of bootleggers and Baptists. These entertainers are so named because during Prohibition, Baptists thought banning demon rum would improve public morals. Oh well. And bootleggers favored the ban because it made scarce a commodity for which there was a demand that they could profitably supply. On Monday, the Supreme Court will listen, with one hopes, a mixture of amusement to arguments concerning another prohibition. This one concerns a law banning what many millions of Americans do anyway: illegally betting between $150 billion and $400 billion annually on sports events. Illegality prevents precise knowledge, but if the sum is just $150 billion, that sum exceeds the combined revenues of Microsoft, Goldman Sachs, and McDonald's. The Baptists in this case are those who consider gambling a vice that state governments should discourage. The bootleggers are those who supply illegal gambling services on the internet and elsewhere. The court's 9 fine minds need not and should not trouble themselves with the question of whether this particular prohibition is sensible. They should, however, defend federalism by telling the national government to stop telling state governments what laws they cannot change. 25 years ago, gambling was rapidly becoming regarded less as a vice that state governments should discourage and more as a source of revenue that these governments would encourage. But in 1992, U.S. Senator Bill Bradley, Democrat, New Jersey, a former college and NBA basketball star who worried about the possible corruption effects of gambling on sports. In a 2011 referendum, New Jersey voters authorized their legislature to do what it did in 2014, partially legalize sports betting by repealing a law prohibiting such wagering as at racetracks and casinos. The NCAA and professional sports leagues objected, saying that by authorizing such gambling, New Jersey was violating PASPA. A federal circuit court agreed, rejecting the state's arguments that PASPA violates the 10th Amendment. An amicus brief supporting New Jersey's argues that federalism precludes the national government from forbidding a state to pass a law that neither violates the Constitution nor addresses any matter preempted by federal law. Congress has not chosen, as it could, to prohibit sports betting. Instead, Congress has paralyzed states, preventing them from changing laws that such betting violates and effectively commandeering state resources to enforce a policy that the state dislikes. The brief also says, depriving the body that enacted the law of the ability to repeal or amend the law defeats the purpose of representative democracy. It is indisputable that Congress cannot directly compel New Jersey to enact a prohibition on sports betting. Therefore, Congress may not prevent the state from repealing such prohibition. In either case, the state is being forced to regulate behavior it would prefer to deregulate or to regulate in its own manner. As currently construed, PASPA, that's P-A-S-P-A, requires states to disregard an emerging consensus. In 1993, 56% of Americans disapproved of legalizing sports betting. Now, 55% approve. 20 states have joined an amicus brief supporting New Jersey, and legislation has been introduced in a dozen states to legalize sports betting if New Jersey wins. The professional sports leagues are recalculating their thinking, partly because legalizing and regulating sports betting would make it easier to detect suspicious surge of bets that might indicate rigged competition, and partly because wagering expands and intensifies fans' engagement. For example, bettors watch more NFL games and watch for longer than non-bettors. Besides, the NFL is moving the Oakland Raiders to a city built by gambling, Las Vegas, where an NHL franchise has just begun its first season. The outcome in the Supreme Court is difficult to predict. It is, however, legal to bet on it.
Grand Lodge to serve gated community. 1.5 million Anemones Center planned for Anderson Creek Crossing.
Let's see this.
A restaurant, bar, and state-of-the-art fitness center are among the amenities now being offered to those who decide to live in the Anderson Creek Crossing community of homes near Fort Bragg. The 1.5 million Grand Lodge Amenities Center has just been completed. Anderson Creek Crossing in Harnett County promotes itself as a family-friendly gated community and sister community to the Anderson Creek Club Home Development, according to a news release. The crossing, which is billed at the closest gated community to the Army installation, is designed by Anderson Creek Partners in collaboration with Anderson Creek real estate developer David Levinson, project architect and engineer David Miller. Details on the planned restaurant and bar are not available at this time, according to a spokeswoman. Levinson said developers are looking at about 1,000 homes being built at the crossing. I think there are 50 or 60 occupied houses already, he said Wednesday. Builders are rushing to build more houses. Frankly, they're being sold faster than we can build them. The community already has a large percentage of military families, according to Levinson. When we first conceptualized Anderson Creek Crossing, our vision was to build a community of smart, innovative home designs around a vibrant community center, he said in the release. We wanted our homeowners to enjoy an enhanced and active living experience within the natural beauty that surrounds the area. I think we've delivered on that promise with the new Grand Lodge. Developers have just unveiled the Crossing 7,000 square foot Grand Lodge Community Center that, the release said, will offer a full spectrum of family-friendly modern amenities and facilities. These include a new restaurant and bar with the opening date to be announced, ultra-modern fitness center designed by Pro Fitness and including a total resistance exercise system and yoga space, a large swimming pool with an extended child area and lap lane overlooking a fish pond, a playground, a basketball court, sand volleyball, outdoor pavilion that will hold 200 people with catering available through the Crossing's large commercial kitchen. The Crossing offers residents a number of Anderson Creek Club perks and discounts, including access to its golf course and the on-site Wonder Years preschool and daycare. As for the homes, they range in size from 2,000 to 2,980 square feet, with prices falling into the $225,000 to $275,000 range. Fayetteville's Bakery, Cake, and Coffee Shop is in business. The shop, which opened October 12th in the Bordeaux Shopping Center, at 3037A Boone Trail Extension replaces Reba's Sweet Bean. Before that, Village Coffee House operated from the site. Native El Salvadoran Abba Barca is the owner and operations manager of the new business. We will have full coffee house, she said. We have different kinds of coffee, and we are also serving lattes.
I could read that without my glasses.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Proposed map creates challenge for GOP. A federal court appears on track to make it harder for Republican State Senator Wesley Meredith of Fayetteville to win re-election next year. This is a side effect of the court's effort to cure unconstitutional defects that it said were present in North Carolina's House and Senate districts that have been used to elect the legislature since 2012. The old maps were drawn by the Republican-controlled legislature in 2011. The voting history of the proposed map for Meredith's Senate District 19 suggests it will be a swing district with close to equal numbers of registered Republicans and Democrat voters. The three-judge panel hired as expert to withdraw 24 North Carolina House and Senate district lines this fall and turn its maps Friday. The judges are to decide in January whether to order North Carolina to use its revisions. The expert Stanford University law professor Nathaniel Persily revised Democratic favoring Senate District 21, which adjoins Senate District 19, because the court ruled that the 2012 to 2016 version of Senate District 21 unconstitutionally had too many black voters in it. Democratic Senator Ben Clark of Hoke and Cumberland counties holds the seat. The legislature in August proposed a revision to Senate District 21 to try to appease the court, but the judges said it was still unconstitutionally packed with black voters. Senate District 21 covers all of Democratic-friendly Hoke County and part of Cumberland County. The version of Senate District 21 used from 2012 through 2016 had a splatter shape that twisted and turned through Fayetteville and Cumberland County as it took in the homes of black voters and other Democratic voting residents. As Senate District 21 was paired with Senate District 19. The shape of Senate District 21 left Republican-leaning voters in Senate 19, helping Meredith to win re-election in 2012, 14, and 16. Persili's map converts Senate District 21 to a compact shape that covers all of Hoke County and the northwest corner of Cumberland County, including Fort Bragg, Spring Lake, and the northern and western parts of Fayetteville. And that shape puts more Democrats into District 19. An analysis by editor Colin Campbell of the Insider Political newsletter in Raleigh found that in the 2016 race for governor, Republican Pat McCrory led Democrat Roy Cooper by only 0.2% in the revised District 19, 49% to 48.8%. Democrats should have little trouble keeping control of Senate District 21 as it remains heavily Democratic according to their votes for president last year. The judges previously found that two of Cumberland County's state house districts were unconstitutionally packed with black voters from 2012 through 2016. Those are District 42, held by Democratic Representative Marvin Lucas, and District 43, served by Democratic Representative Elmer Floyd. The legislature revised those districts in August, and the judges said the revisions are constitutional. Changes to District 42 and 43 force revision to House District 44, held by Democrat Billy Richardson, and House District 41, served by Republican John Soka. District 44 continues to lean Democratic, and District 45 continues to be a strong Republican performing district. The judges will meet January 5 in Greensboro before deciding whether to adopt the changes about 5 weeks before candidate filing begins for next November's elections. GOP lead lawmakers have said it was premature for the judges to hire Persily as a special master, and House Speaker Tim Moore already has signaled map changes could be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Priscilla drew the districts to address the concerns of the judges that redistricting performed by the Republican-controlled legislature in August didn't shed previously unlawful racial bias from 4 districts across the state, including Senate District 21. Other district changes, the judges wrote, appeared to violate the state constitution because they were redrawn when they didn't have to be. The chairman of the House and Senate redistricting committees blasted Priscilla's proposal as one of that helps Democrats who have been in the legislative minority since the 2010 elections. The Republicans want the maps approved in August used in the 2018 elections. The process is a thinly veiled political operation where unelected judges legislating from the bench strip North Carolinians of their constitutional right to self-governance, Representative David Lewis and Senator Ralph Heiss said in a news release. Overall, Priscilla's proposal likely would improve Democratic chances for winning 2 or 3 more House seats and 2 in the Senate, including Meredith. The maps approved in August kept Republicans able to retain veto-proof majorities in the chambers.
Saturday evening, December 2nd, at 6 p.m., we have the WTVD ABC 11 Eyewitness News. 6:30, we have the ABC World News Tonight with David Muir. 7 o'clock, Downtown Raleigh Tree Lighting Ceremony. 7:30, Wheel of Fortune. 8 o'clock, College Football. 11:30, ABC 11 Eyewitness News at 11 p.m. On Channel 15, at 6 o'clock, we have ABC 15 News at 6, ABC World News at 6:30. 7 o'clock, Entertainment Tonight. 8 o'clock, College Football. 11:30, ABC 15 News. On Channel 17, at 6 o'clock, we have College Football. 7:30, North Carolina News at 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock, Kevin Can Wait. 8:30, Man with the Plan. 9 o'clock, NCIS New Orleans. 10 o'clock, 48 Hours. 11 o'clock, North Carolina News at 11. And 11:30, Leverage. Channel 13, we have College Football at 6 o'clock. 7:30 is Paid Program. 8 o'clock is Kevin Can Wait. 8:30 is Man with the Plan. 9 p.m. is NCIS New Orleans. 10 o'clock is 48 Hours. 11 o'clock is WBTW News 13. And at 11:30, Person of Interest. Channel 50, we have College Basketball at 6. College Football at 7. And College Football at 8. And then the news at 11:30. Channel 8, we have College Football at 6 o'clock. College Basketball at 6 o'clock. Fox College Football at 7 o'clock. College Football at 8, and then Fox News at 11:30. Channel 26, we have College Football at 5. College Football pregame at 7. College Football at 8, followed by Fox News at 10. WRL 5, we have WRL News Saturday at 6 o'clock, followed by NBC Nightly News with Lester Holder at 6:30. 7 o'clock On the Record. 7:30 Education Matters. 8 o'clock Will and Grace. 8:30 Superstore. 9 o'clock Dateline NBC. 10 o'clock Saturday Night Live. WRL News at 11 and Saturday Night Live shortly after. WECT Channel 6, we have WECT News at 6. 6:30, there's NBC Nightly News with Lester Hope. 7 p.m. is Wheel of Fortune. 7:30 is Jeopardy. 8 p.m. is Will and Grace. 8:30 is The Superstore. 9 o'clock, Dateline NBC. 10 o'clock, Saturday Night Live. And 11 o'clock, WECT News. Channel 21, we have Live PD at 5, Live PD Wine at 8 p.m. and Live PD Wine at 9 p.m. On AMC Channel 41 at 5:30, we have The Karate Kid Part 2, followed by Hocus Pocus at 8 o'clock, followed by Hocus Pocus at 10. And on Channel 42, we have Dual Survival at 6 p.m. Dual Survivor again at 7 p.m. Bushcraft Build-Off at 8 p.m. Bushcraft Build-Off at 9 p.m. Bushcraft Build-Off at 10 p.m. and Dual Survivor at 11 p.m.
Help bring joy to a child this Christmas. What is your favorite memory of a Christmas as a child? Maybe it was the year Santa brought that toy that was at the top of your list. Or maybe it was the excitement of Christmas Eve when you pretended to fall asleep, but really you would sneak to the window to try to spy a reindeer. Most of us are blessed to have such wonderful memories of the holidays. Can you imagine being a kid and not having that experience? We sure can't, but that's the reality. For so many families in our own community. The Bill Shaw Salvation Army Christmas Fund has helped provide joy to children every year since the Great Depression. It relies on you, our readers, to make it happen. We need every dollar we can raise to provide a happy Christmas to every child in Cumberland, Robeson, Hoke, Scotland, and more counties. Don't wait. Send your tax-deductible check to the Bill Shaw Fund, 220 East Russell Street, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28301, or drop it off during normal business hours. With today's gifts, we're nearly to $25,000. Thank you to everyone who has contributed so far, including Alonzo Hadley and Randy Dyson, who led our list today with $600 and $500 respectively.
Charlottesville report faults in planning. Law enforcement failed to adequately plan for or respond to a violent white nationalist rally this summer in Virginia, leading to a deep distrust of government in the Charlottesville community, an independent review release Friday found. Former U.S. Attorney Tim Heafy's months-long investigation found a lack of coordination between state and city police and a passive response by officials to the chaos. The report also found that police removed an officer from an area where a car plowed into counter-protesters and killed a woman and injured 19 others, leaving only a small sawhorse in place at the time. Supervisors devised a poorly conceived plan that under-equipped and misaligned hundreds of officers. Execution of that plan elevated officer safety over public safety, the report found. The city of Charlottesville also did not protect free expression on August 12th, the report said. This represents a failure of one of government's core functions, the protection of fundamental rights, it said. Law enforcement also failed to maintain order and protect citizens from harm, injury, and death. Charlottesville preserved neither of those principles on August 12th, which has led to deep distrust of government within this community. White nationalists descended on Charlottesville in part to protest plans to remove a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. They began fighting in the streets with counter demonstrators before the event even officially began, and the brawling went on for nearly an hour in front of officers until the event eventually disbanded. Later, as counter demonstrators were peacefully marching through a downtown street, a car drove into the crowd, killing 32-year-old Heather Hayer and injuring many more.
Auto parts business to create 20 jobs. The salvage auto parts business, Sandhills Pick and Pull, has announced that its new location on South King Street will produce about 20 new full-time jobs in Fayetteville. The business, which will operate as a self-service automotive recycling facility, is scheduled to open the retail side of its operation December 4 at 561 South King Street. The 20-acre site will offer more than 1,300 salvage cars, trucks, and vans that customers can scrounge for the parts they want from the vehicles, according to a news release. The Fayetteville site will be the Wilmington-based company's third location. The first one opened in Wilmington in 2011, and 3 years later, the second began operations in Conway, South Carolina. We've been very successful. They do very well, Mark Vanover, one of the owners, said Monday. The Wilmington location averaged around 200 customers a week. The Conway one is right at 1,500 customers a week. Most of the jobs will be hourly positions, he said, earning on average $13 an hour. The three managers Vancouver added will average $50,000 to $100,000 a year. In its news release, the company said the business would generate $700,000 in annual payroll, with about 75% staff. At this time, Sandhills Pick and Pull is buying vehicles to stock the yard opening early next year. Customers bring their own tools and remove parts they want from the vehicles, which are elevated on wheel stands for easy access. The parts sell far less than those purchased new and come with a 30-day refund policy, the Reese said. The business buys all unwanted end-of-life vehicles, whether they are wrecked, inoperable, or no longer needed. Quotes will be available over the phone, and Sandhills Pick and Pay will tow the vehicle to its Fayetteville lot. The lot is open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The last admission will be allowed at 4:30 p.m.
War Roundup. North Korea's final choice. The Korea Times on the need for negotiations. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is mistaken if he believes that the world will accept his pariah nation as a nuclear state hands down. The young dictator obviously thinks nuclear weapons and missiles are his trump card for survival, but the likelihood is that they are his death warrant. The only way out is to come without conditions and in haste to the negotiating table to discuss the dismantling of his programs for weapons of mass destruction. The North declared Wednesday that if it has perfected its missile and nuclear program after test firing a long-range missile that could strike anywhere in the entire United States and much of the world. There is, however, no way of knowing whether the North has made progress in payload miniaturization and reentry technology. The United States asked China to cut off oil supplies to the north. Beijing has already reduced fuel supplies by 1/3 to Pyongyang. Without Chinese oil, it is a matter of time before the north becomes energy-starved and rendered dysfunctional. Although some Chinese media outlets accuse the United States of causing the north to test by relisting it as a state sponsoring terrorism, China is left with few excuses to resist Washington's drive to toughen sanctions on Pyongyang. President Moon Jae-in, the progressive leader who is friendly to Pyongyang, has been left with no choice but to stand with the U.S. to put maximum pressure on the North. Now, the North may press on with an even more outrageous test of a missile that is fired on a more normal angle to fly the actual distance of over 10,000 kilometers, perhaps with a nuclear payload. With that test, Kim may hope the world will become scared of a nuclear-armed North and bullied to pay protection money to guarantee his regime's security and boost its economic viability. A more likely scenario is that other countries in the region will arm themselves with nuclear weapons while strengthening their collective effort to end the North. A national occasion. The Telegraph of London on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding. A divorced, mixed-race Hollywood actress who attended a Roman Catholic school is to marry the son of the next king. Such a sentence could simply have not been written a generation ago. The forthcoming nuptials of Prince Harry and his American fiancée Meghan Markle are emblematic of a nation that has changed utterly, no longer hidebound by stuffy tradition and populated by establishment courtiers seeking to prove Shakespeare's observation that the course of true love never did run smooth. For Prince Harry, in particular, the country will be delighted to see him settling down to the responsibilities and obligations of married life. Earlier this year, he disclosed in this newspaper how his mother's death, when he was just 12, had such a destabilizing impact on his life. But despite a sometime playboy reputation in his 20s, he has not been idle. After his time in the Army, he has become a champion for disabled ex-servicemen and women, playing a prominent role in helping to set up and promote the Invictus Games, which were staged for the third time in Toronto in September. Their success is attributed to Prince Harry's hard work and commitment to the cause. After a long period of political uncertainty and the seemingly interminable controversy over Brexit, the country now has a royal wedding to look forward to, and if there is ever an event that can draw our fractured nation together, then this is it. The wedding is set for next spring. Let it be a national occasion and a great national church.
NBC source, no payout for Matt Lauer on rest of contract. I was totally shocked about this. NBC is standing firm against giving Fired Today host Matt Lauer a payout on the multi-million-dollar salary he's leaving behind, according to a person at the network. Lauer, said to have earned around $25 million a year, reportedly is negotiating to receive the remainder of his salary for the current contract that runs to 2018 and made him one of TV's highest paid journalists. But NBC won't agree, said the person who spoke Friday on condition of anonymity because a personnel matter was involved. Some NBC News employees who raised the question of Lauer's compensation at a staff meeting were told that he was fired for cause and wouldn't be paid beyond his last day work, according to a Variety report Friday. A representative for him didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Also Friday, NBC News chairman Andrew Lack said an internal review into Lauer's alleged sexual misconduct is underway, including how it happened and why it wasn't stopped earlier. In a company-wide memo released publicly, Lack said those are among the questions NBC employees are asking in the wake of the Today's host firing for what Lack labeled appalling behavior. A team of NBC Universal legal and human resources leaders have started a thorough and timely review of what occurred and how the company can foster greater transparency and mutual respect, Lack said in the memo. At the conclusion of the review, we will share what we've learned, no matter how painful, and act on it, he says. His memo didn't address if the report would be made public. NBC News publicists didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Reiterating comments from a memo he sent Wednesday, Lack said the top priority is to create a safe work environment and that unacceptable actions are met with consequences, no matter who the offender. NBC's announcement Tuesday that Matt Lauer was being fired for inappropriate sexual behavior meant that the network was cutting loose the popular, long-established star of his highly lucrative morning show. How much Matt Lauer's status may have protected him from allegations is among the questions raised by observers. NBC has said current executives didn't receive any complaints before the one Monday that triggered Matt Lauer's immediate dismissal the next day. Two other women came forward with accusations, with one telling the New York Times that Matt Lauer had sexually assaulted her in his office in 2001. A Variety magazine investigation outlined a pattern of alleged salacious behavior, including 3 women who said he harassed them. In his first public response, Matt Lauer said in a statement Thursday that some of the allegations were untrue, but others had enough truth that he felt embarrassed and ashamed. Repairing the damage cost him his full-time job. He joined the lengthening list of prominent men toppled by misconduct claims, starting with movie mogul Harvey Weinstein and expanding out to others in Hollywood, media, and politics. In his memo, Lack said the company's mandatory online training on sexual harassment and other workplace issues will be augmented in the news division by in-person training. This week we saw that when an employee comes forward to report misconduct, the system works. The complaint is quickly assessed and meaningful action is taken, he said, but workers must be empowered to take the crucial first step of reporting bad behavior. NBC has been caught up in other misconduct-related matters.
Reader's right, a break for me. Sometimes I have to tell myself I've got to take a break. I just got to get away for a while. Everyone needs to take a break some way or another. You get a break on your job, you get a break between classes in school, athletes get a break between games, you get a break between church services. You just have to inhale and slowly exhale the breath of your life. Then thank God that you have that breath to take. When I think about how hard it was when I was growing up, I have a different opinion of what I went through and what I'm going through now. My mama was strict with me. She didn't teach me how to cook, but she taught my older brother that chore. I didn't think that was a chore to him because he seemed to enjoy cooking, and boy could he cook. He wasn't like Bubba from the movie Forrest Gump. Bubba liked to cook shrimp any kind of way. He was just a shrimp fanatic. My brother was a catfish fanatic. He could throw down, especially when he cooked his fish. I wish I had that talent. My chore was to keep the house clean. I kept the floors swept with those straw brooms every day. Once a week we washed clothes on the back porch in those ringer washer machines and hung clothes on these cords that we wrapped around the back porch post to a tree in the backyard. Summertime was alright because it didn't take long for the clothes to dry. But wait until wintertime comes around and that wind hits you. It's hard trying to hang clothes out on the clothesline when you get that tingling in the tip of fingers from the wet clothes and cold air. You hang the clothes out in the morning and bring them in before dark. They don't be completely dry, but that's when my next chore came to light, pulling out the old heavy wooden ironing board. We used cornstarch to starch our clothes, mainly my brother's shirts and pants for Sunday. The irons were not light in weight as our irons are these days, but the job was done by no one else but moi. We got our break at night time, after our chores were done, after we had done our homework on the weekdays, and after we'd eaten our dinner. We all sat down together at our small eating table and thanked God for the food we had acquired for that week. Don't think that these were all the chores we had to do. There were much, much more. One thing I can say is that I learned to appreciate my mother for who she was, what she was able to provide for us, and what she taught me. It wasn't only she that taught me, as our ancestors say to one another, it takes a village to raise a child. There was love and caring felt from one another in our communities. We worked together as a family. We worked together in unity, helping one another. The adults had Bible study groups, and the children had their own Bible study groups. When school turned out for the summer, some of the children from our neighborhood attended our church for vacation Bible school for 2 weeks. When we completed Bible school for those 2 weeks, our break was to take a bus loaded up with the attendees of the vacation Bible school classes, and down to Atlantic Beach in South Carolina we went for a day, or we would ride down to Jones Lake, have a picnic, and have loads of fun. It wasn't just the children wading in the water, it was the adults interacting with the children. That was the main event for each year that I looked forward to while I was growing up. It wasn't a picture-perfect time for people. There's no one on earth picture-perfect anyway. But nowadays, you need to take that break. You can't just wait for bedtime to get rest, because we're not just physically drained or tired, we're also mentally stressed out too. So in order for our body to be beckoned for rest and relaxation, we need to take heed. We're in a world that is shouting in chaos. We're screaming for recognition, and we don't even realize that we're recognized by God. When I am touched to be given another chance, I find a secluded area to wait for that magnitude with the power of the Holy Spirit to enlighten what is needed of me. My break allows me to seek for forgiveness, patience, and love. It gives me the security of fighting off temptations, hostility, and criticisms. The break for me does not leave me shattered, but it gives me the strength to move forward. We say pray for one another, but actions speak louder than words. Give it a try the next time after you take your break.
Warfare School Criticism Prompts Probe. The Army Special Warfare Center and School has launched an investigation into an anonymous email that accused its leaders of moral cowardice for ditching training standards and allowing underserving soldiers to become members of elite Green Beret teams. The sharply critical message was sent earlier this week to a wide swath of the Army Special Forces community. The nearly 6,300 word message declared that the school's senior officers and enlisted leaders are primarily interested in advancing their careers by meeting demands for greater numbers of Green Berets and enforcing political agendas. Major General Kurt Sontag, commanding general of the school located at Fort Bragg, on Thursday defended the process for selecting Green Berets and rejecting a number of the claims in the email. He said he stands firmly behind the quality of every soldier we are sending to the operational force. In a statement delivered to men and women of the Special Warfare Center and School. This concludes our reading of the Fayetteville Observer. Your radio hosts have been
Dr. Shanessa Fenner
and Joan Townsend. At 4 p.m. you can hear Off the Bookshelf. Additionally, you will hear a rebroadcast of today's Fayetteville Observer tonight at 9 p.m. We will now join the Raleigh Network for additional news of interest. Thank you for tuning us in. We've enjoyed being with you this morning. Have a wonderful day. How do you turn this thing off?
She said, let me turn it on. She goes, because